There we go. Okay. Okay, so Amorava. Right, we'll start with Amorava.
Yep.
So Kotzar v'tochan. I don't even need a gemara over here. This here. Kotzar v'tochan k'gregeres v'shigagas Shabbos v'zadon malachas. Right. So the akdamas that we need to have over here, we sort of learned already, right? That there's two types of shkaga. You can either forget about Shabbos, and then all the malachas that you did, your chayav only one because your shkaga, your mistake was forgetting about Shabbos. It's one mistake. Or you knew about Shabbos, you forgot about the malachas, and then each you chayav for each malacha.
Right.
Another important thing to know over here is that in Kol Torah Kula in general, if you commit one isser many times within one helam, you're only chayav once. Right? It's only if you remember and then you forget again, right? Then you're chayav twice, right? And agav, it's interesting. The Rambam, all these halachas, if you look where they're brought, it's not even in Hilchos Shabbos. It's in Hilchos Shgagas.
Makes sense.
Right. It's not Hilchos Shabbos. It's just a question of how to categorize things in terms of chiyuv korban. So it's specific to Shabbos also, but it's mamish not even Hilchos Shabbos. So. Now, so says Rava. Rava says, Katzar v'tochan k'gregeres, if you did, let's say, Ktsira and Tchina, right? K'gregeres. Gregeres happens to be the shear that you're chayav for on Shabbos, and most malachas need to be done for gregeres. Less than that, it might not even be also midoraisa. It's a question of chatzi shir. Rashi sounds like chatzi shir on Shabbos is also also, even though chatzi malacha and chatzi shir aren't necessarily the same thing. Chatzi shir, right, is the ma'aser you're being nene from half the isser, and it's chatzi malacha you could say is nothing because you didn't create anything, right? But still, it might be much more from Rashi later on that even chatzi malacha is a problem. But gregeres is the shir, right? It's amorava. Kotzer v'tochan gregeres. Now that was b'shigagas Shabbos v'zadon malachas, which means you did not know about Shabbos, but you knew about the malachas. So now we're talking about a case. You essentially would be chayav only one, right? Fine. V'chazar v'kotzer v'tochan. So that was let's call that 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And then v'chazar v'kotzer v'tochan gregeres v'zadon Shabbos v'shigagas malachas. Then what happened is that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the same Shabbos, right? So by then you remembered that it was Shabbos, but you forgot that that Ktsira, by then you forgot that Ktsira and Tchina are Asa, right? So let's say at 9 o'clock in the morning, you knew, it depends on the previous Shiloh we had, but let's just to make things simple, you forgot that it was Shabbos, but you knew that Ktsira and Tchina are Asa on Shabbos. You knew these things are Asa on Shabbos. Now, the way things segued from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock is that you slowly remembered that it was Shabbos, but you forgot that Ktsira and Tchina is Asr on Shabbos, right? So suddenly
you remembered it was Shabbos, right?
You remembered it was Shabbos,
but you didn't know that Ktsira and Tchina were Asr.
Right, and then you subsequently forgot that Ktsira and Tchina are Asr.
So that moment you remember, that second, you're Chayav Achatas.
Well, it sounds like he didn't. No. What do you mean? Which second?
The second that you remember it's Shabbos, you're Chayav Achatas for what you did at 9 o'clock. When you forgot it was Shabbos and you did, let's say, even 5 malachas.
But by then you forgot that Ktsira and Tchina is Asr.
Okay.
So you didn't know, you didn't realize you did anything wrong.
Oh.
Because as you remembered it was Shabbos, you forgot that Ktsira and Tchina are Asr.
Oh, so the Chayav Achatas didn't ripen.
Exactly.
Because you didn't know you did something wrong. You didn't know what you did was wrong.
Right. You didn't know you did an Avera. You came Shalosh Shudas already. You had no idea you did an Avera, right? Because you had selective memory. So the question is what do we do over here in terms of Chiyuvei Chatas?
Okay.
Right. So essentially, if you look at each one alone, you would say, okay, so for the 9 o'clock in the morning, he's chayav 1, and for the 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you should chayav twice, right? One for the Ktsira, one for the Tchina.
Yeah, but that's only if he remembers at some point that.
Right. But that's what the Gemara is going to learn. That's initially what people would think. Oh, for the 9 o'clock, you chayav 1,
right?
And then for the 5 o'clock, you chayav 2. But Rava's chiddush over here is that it's not going to work that way, and that's why he creates this crazy case to show us this chiddush in terms of how things work, right? So now I'm just saying that in terms of the thing that happens at 9, the first thing that happens, it could be he doesn't even know. It could be he doesn't even know that Ktsira and Tchina are Asr, right? That has to do with the previous Shiloh we had before. If you forget about everything, if you didn't know that it's Shabbos and you didn't know that it's Malachas, or you chayav 1 or you chayav 2, right? That was the previous. But just to make things simple, he forgot. He knew about it and then he forgot. Okay, so So we have the two instances of Shgaga on Shabbos. Amar Rava, Katzav V'tochen K'Gregaris B'Shigagas Shabbos V'Zodan Melachos. V'Chazar Katzav V'tochen K'Gregaris V'Zodan Shabbos V'Shigagas Melachos. V'Noidaloi, and then it was known to him, Al Kitzir Utchinos Shigagas Shabbos. Right? Then he chaps that it's noida to him that, oh my gosh, at 9 o'clock in the morning I forgot that it was Shabbos and Kitzir and Tchina were Aser. Right? V'Zodan Melachos, right? And so he realizes that he taka did it, the Melachos B'Zodan, right? Because at that point he knew Ktsira and China were also, he just had forgotten that it's Shabbos, and right now he remembers that it's Shabbos.
He's chayiv one chatas at that point.
Right, at that point he should be chayiv one chatas. V'chazar v'noidela, and then subsequently, I guess it sounds like he didn't remember. It's not pshat that noida in the Torah necessarily means that, oh, I didn't realize I did something usher. It's also, you didn't remember that you did something, right? So it sounds like over here that even though he remembered about what happened at 9 o'clock in the morning, he didn't remember what happened at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Because if he remembers everything together, that's a different situation, right? But over here it sounds like he's only remembering the Chazar v'noidalai al-Ktsira v'al-Tchina shel Zodan Shabbos, and then he remembers, then he chaps what happened at 5. The Chazar v'noidalai, he remembers that the Ktsira and Tchina shel Zodan Shabbos v'Shigas Melachos, when he knew about Shabbos, he forgot the Melachos, right? So that's when. So that happens, right?
After the chiyuv chatas ripens on the 9 o'clock act, then he learned he no low on the second act. So the question is, what's going to be what pathers what?
Right. So I just want to point out that both Rashi and Taisus say that. I mean, Rashi says if you want to read the bottom Rashi, right? Yeah. He says that the issue is that he was mafresh something in between. He was mafresh a carbon. Hifresh chatas. In between, right? So it's Ashigigas Shabbos v'Zodan Melachos. That's the first case, right? The first haloma, and then he was mafresh achatos. V'chatos umchaper sal shtein. The achad hu demchayvole, right? So that
sounds like yediyah is not enough. You need hafrasha.
Right. Well, the way Taisus explains on the bottom Taisus over here is that if he wasn't mafresh, so then there's no problem. It's even more makel because you could choose. Let's first see Rava and then I'll explain what that means.
Okay.
But so. Hold on, let me just shut the door over here. So it says Rava, Ktsira ger is Ktsira, Utchina ger is Tchina. Right? So what happens is that because you're mafresh achatos, and that chatos is going on the first Shabbos halama, and that you have only one, because you forgot about Shabbos. And that carbon takes care of the ktsira you did and the tchina that you did, right? So therefore, Rava says you should know that is goyrer the second one also. And even though it was done in a different life, and it was a whole different helem because you knew about Shabbos, you got the melachas, right? But over here, but since Rashi explains that since at the end of the day you didn't know about the chet at all, right? You had no knowledge that you sinned at all, right? So therefore, it's called one helem, and it's mitzaref, and sort of.
What do you mean he had no knowledge that he sinned?
But because by the time he knew he chapped it with Shabbos, he weiter forgot that Ksir Tchina's aser.
Oh, okay.
So Memela, he even though he did it again, right? He had no idea that he was over Averis. Right. So therefore, it's called one helem, and just like when you eat 2 pieces of chaylev with one helem, you have only 1 carbon. So too, this is sort of in one package, and since it's within one package, all you need to do is bring that 1 carbon on the first thing, right? And because that encompasses ktsira and tchina, so therefore, it can take care of the second chata of the 5 o'clock issues also, right?
Okay.
So ktsira gerer is ktsira, tchina gerer is tchina.
Okay.
However, aval noi daloi. Al Ktsira shel Zodan Shabbos. If you were only known to you about the Ktsira of Zodan Shabbos v'Shigagas Melachos, meaning you first realized that you sinned only about the second thing, which is that you knew about Shabbos, you forgot about the Melachos, right? So therefore you would be chayav for 1 for Ktsira, 1 for Tchina, right?
Right.
So then Ktsira gereres Ktsira. So the second Ktsira that you did is gerer the first Ktsira. Yes, it will take care of the first Ktsira. Utchina she'ima. And the Tchina She'ima, which means that it takes care of the 9 o'clock, right? It takes care of the morning issue, right? Fully. But Tchina She'kenegda, but the Tchina with it, Bimkayim Medas, that it doesn't include. And therefore, you have to bring another carbon on the Tchina. Because essentially, the second avera that he did, the second set of averas that he did at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever, the afternoon one, right? So that you're chayiv an individual chatas for each one, because you knew about Shabbos, you forgot about the malachos. So now but if you're mafresh, so if you find out about that first, and right away you're mafresh a carbon on the ktsira, so says Rava, that carbon can only work for that ktsira, and yes, it will work for the previous ktsira also.
The 9 o'clock ktsira.
Right, because at the end of the day, they're the same halama, right? They're within the same halama. And now once we took care of that 9 o'clock ktsira, right? So because that 9 o'clock ktsira was in the same boat as tchina, the tchina that you did also, because it was all b'shigagas Shabbos, right? And so it's within one boat. It's one set of averas that was done just because you forgot about Shabbos. Yeah. Right. So therefore, once you're able to take care of the ktsira, whatever comes with it is also pattered.
What did he do at 5 o'clock? He did both ktsira and tchina.
Right, but he knew it was Shabbos.
But he only knew that ktsira was usher.
No, he knew both were usher. No, sorry, he didn't know that ktsira or tchina was usher.
But later on he found out Nolda what? Nolda that only ktsira was usher.
No. Later on it's noida to him that, let's say, ktsira and tchina are usher.
No, but Nolda lo al ktsira shel zadon Shabbos ushigas malachot.
Right, yeah. I don't know if it's so relevant. It doesn't really make a difference.
No, because the chiyuv on the tchina didn't ripen yet, and because right only the ksira ripened, and then the ksira is goreres the 9 o'clock ksira, and that's gorer the 9 o'clock tchina. But the 5 o'clock tchina hasn't ripened yet. Now when he finds out about that, he has to bring a second one.
Right. Okay. But you're saying what? That if he did find out about the tchina together with the ksira, then what?
Then maybe there'd be no problem. It would take care of everything. No, he needs two. He needs two chatas, right?
Anyway,
one for the ksira and for tchina. So the ksira will be go over the ksira, and the tchina will be go over the tchina.
You're saying you could use the tchina for the tchina anyway.
But that's what the Gemara is saying. Abal no delo al katsira only.
Right. No, but either way, what you're saying, you are agreeing that you need to have two chatos, right?
Yes.
So either way, you have to make two chatos.
Eventually, he's going to need two. So I don't know what Rava is accomplishing. What's the benefit here? He's saying that the ksira, you found out about the ksira. So the ksira is your yotzei the 9 o'clock ksira, and your yotzei the 9 o'clock tchina. Everything is gorer. But eventually, you're going to find out about the tchina that you did at 5 o'clock, and that would also take care of the 9 o'clock tchina.
Right. Well, yeah, but Rava is telling you, right, that even though in the first instance, when I told you that if the 9 o'clock was noida to you first, you could bring one chatas and it takes care of your whole issue. Right. Right. But over here in this situation, it's not going to take care of the whole issue, and you're going to have to bring another chatas. Right. So it makes a difference, and it's ironic, but it makes a difference how you subsequently found out about your averas. Right. If you found about the 9 o'clock first, and then you were mafresh, so then boom, so now that works for everything. But if you found out about the 5 o'clock first, and then you were mafresh, so because it's specifically on the ktsira, and that's separate from the tchina, because you chayiv a separate chatas for each one, because they were done b'shigagas when you knew about Shabbos, you got it. So therefore, it's gar the ktsira and the tchina with it, but not the next tchina. So it makes a difference how you know about it. Okay. But if you, right, and then you would still be chayiv twice. That's the chiddush that Rav is saying, that it depends on how you know about it. Now, Taisus over there pointed out that, and Rashi also holds this way. That's why he mentions hifresh, that if you weren't mafresh anything and you found out about everything, then you could choose on your own to be mafresh whatever you want and take care of it. Okay. The only issue is once you're mafresh it becomes designated and rigid. It's rigid to what you designated it for, and then we have to look of what that itself includes or not.
So if he was a pikeach, he would designate for the 9 o'clock, then it'd be yotzei everything with one chatas.
Exactly, and Taisa says you could totally do that.
Okay.
It's only if the 5 o'clock was noida to him and he didn't know about the 9 o'clock. Right. Then he wants to quickly be mafresh a carbon, so then he loses out. Right. Right. So that's Rava. Now Abaye says. No, tchina nami gereres. Tchina, once you took care of once your ktsira goes back to the first ktsira, and then that ktsira takes care of the first tchina, so then the second tchina takes care of the first tchina. Tchina gereres tchina also. Tchina nami gereres tchina, because it's shem tchina achasi. The same way if you already have a chatas taking care of a tchina that you did on that Shabbos, and because they're all within one helem, essentially one helem, so therefore the tchina is also going to be taken care of. So Abaye says it doesn't make a difference how you knew, whether you found out azoy, that doesn't make a difference. You only have one chatas at the end of the day over here.
So it's like two stages. The first chatas on the tzira takes care of the 9 o'clock at tzira and gorer the 9 o'clock techina. And once you do that, the 9 o'clock techina will be gorer the 5 o'clock techina. So you only have to bring one chatas.
Exactly.
But that's against our. We learned that if you're shogeg in the Shabbos, but the shogeg in the malachas. If you knew it was Shabbos and you were shogeg in the malachas, you have to bring two.
Right. No, but the concept of greira, and then that's the chiddush that they're saying here.
That's a tremendous chiddush.
Right. It's a huge chiddush, right? That because I'm bringing a chatas already on this melacha on Shabbos, right? Because it's within one helem, and it's only because if there was mamash in between, you would never let you do this.
Right.
So because you never chapped, you made an avera, so therefore it's considered one package. And now because at the end of the day you brought a chatas on a tchina, so therefore it takes care of all the tchinas on Shabbos.
Amazing.
Givaldik, right? So that's very interesting. Now the Gemara asks, Umi islay l'Rava greira. Does Rava hold of greira? The Ha'itmar, doesn't it sound? Don't we know that Rava does not really hold of greira at all? Right? And it sounds like Rava agrees to step one greira. Right? He doesn't hold of greira l'greira. That's the way Rashi says it. And the Gemara is going to say. Right? And he holds of the first step of greira. Now it's interesting. There's a machlekes Rashi Taisus as to what's the first greira. Right? Because the Gemara sounds like Ktsira Gereris Ktsira. That's the first Greira, right?
Right.
But Taisus explains, no, that's not Greira B'chlal. The Greira is from the Ktsira to the Tchina.
Okay.
And the Greira L'Greira is the next step.
Is the first Tchina to the second Tchina. That's the second step. Right,
exactly. So there's machlekes Rashi Taisus over here, what's the Greira L'Greira? But we'll see. It's very interesting in terms of the next Gemara. But so the Gemara says, it sounds like here the Rava holds at least to the first step of Greira he does hold. One step he does hold. The second step he doesn't hold. But does Rava hold a Greira at all? Itmar, it was learned. If someone eats two zeisechelev behelem echad with one helem, all in one forgetting, and then it was known to him about one. And then, after he knew about one, he did not know about the second one. He eats another one, right?
Okay.
So now, essentially, the first and second one are done in one helem.
Right. And
the second and third are done in another helem. Right? But the first and the third aren't done in the same helem, because by the time he knew about the first, by the time he ate the third, he knew about the first already.
But not the second. The second, it has a circle around the first and a circle around the third. That's
Venn diagram, right? Exactly. So Amar Rava says that if hey carbon, again, it's how shrewd you are, right? Are you smart enough to know what to do? Right? It's Amar Rava. Hey carbon al rishon, so the rishon v'sheni miskaprin, gimel ein miskaper, but the third one is not part of that.
Right.
Hey carbon al shlishi. If you brought a carbon on the third one, shlishi v'sheni miskaprin, because they're in the same halama. But rishon ein miskaper, because that became separate. It became a separate halama because you were noida in between. So that's not gaira, the other one. However, heavy carbon al mitzai, if you're in the middle one, and you're smart, right? Then the skapar kulan, because that's the middle of the Venn diagram, right? But now Abaye Omar, I feel
and
like
that's not gorer according to Tosos. That's like the first step. That's not gorer. It just schleps along, but that's not what we mean by gorer.
Right, exactly. That's not gorer because it's all with one helem.
Right.
Greira is when you go from one helem to another helem.
Right.
You go from ktsira to ktsira. Right. So Zakt Abaye Omar, Afilu Hevi Carbon Alechem Mem Niskaper Kula. Abaye holds no. Abaye holds a Greira. Right. He holds that even if you bring on one, it doesn't make a difference because one is connected to two and two is connected to three. Boom. Right. So therefore it's Greira.
Right.
So, but either way, we see Rava doesn't hold of Greira at all.
Right.
So Zakt the Gemara. Basar the Shema Abaye, after he heard about it from Abaye's Svara, he agreed. He agreed to the concept of Greira by Chelev. The Gemara says, Ihachi Tchina Nami Tigarat L'Tchina. So let the Tchina also take the other Tchina. No, Greira East like Greira the Greira Leslie. 2 steps is too much.
Good.
It's essentially, he holds, right, you can jump from Halama to Halama, and then right? Once you were goyer the ktsira, so then according to Taisus, to add the tchina is not at all it's not greira, it's in the same boat, it's in the same halama, it's mamish the same thing. The ktsira and the tchina were together. So therefore that's not greira at all. So Rav is maskim. But to go the next step, and now you should go back to the second halama, that's already too much for Rav. Okay, now, Milsa de Pshitale la Abaye v'Rava, this whole thing that's Pasha to Abaye v'Rava, because they're discussing it in such complicated ways, but the Pasha Pshat of the fact that
Greira works, at least one level, yeah.
Right, that's mi boyle Rab Zera. The boy Rab Zera, Rab Asi, V'ami lo mine Rab Yomi Rab Zera. Some say it's Rab Zera. Kotzar v'tochan chatzi gregaris b'shiggas Shabbos v'zodan melachos. Let's say instead of our case, what you did was you did a chatzi gregaris. So that's not enough to be mechayev you. V'chozer kotzar v'tochan chatzi gregaris b'zodan Shabbos v'shiggas melachos. And then you found out that it was Shabbos, but you forgot about again the same thing. You forgot that it was Aser. So ma'asher yitztarfu.
Right.
Right. So essentially, it's a similar question.
It's different shgogos. So could they be combined?
Right. If you look at it as separate shgogos, right, and because the halama changes at 9:00 in the morning, the halama was mitzat Shabbos. At 5 o'clock, mitzat melachos. So it's a different thing. Oh, you can't be mitzaref. Right. But Abaye and Rava aren't looking at it that way. The mom is looking at it's one thing. You can bring one chatas and it's good everything.
Right.
Right. But from the fact that they have the shaila, right. So let's see. What do they say? So Amarlei tells him back, chalukin lechatayis v'lei mitztarfin. That since the chalukin lechatayis, meaning that they would be mechayev two separate chatayis, and therefore they're not mitztaref. Right? So he goes lekula over here. He says that the kotzer v'tochan are not mitztaref because each one is mechayev a whole separate chatas. So you see that he would hold that if you did do a full melacha, right? So then you would be chayev separate chatayis for each one.
Right.
So you see that that's not, that was the question Reb Zera asked.
Right.
Okay, so you see machlekes. Now, the Gemara says, in terms of the assumption that Reb Zera says, right? That because it's a chiluk chatayis, also memela, so too, regarding a chatzi shir type of thing, it's not mitzdaref. Right? So it says the Gemara, Vatnan, is that so pashut? Vatnan, ochal chelev v'chelev behelam echad. Says the Mishnah increases, I think. You ate chelev and then more chelev within one helen. Ein chayav ela achas, you only chayav one. Ochal chelev v'dam v'noiser pigul. If you ate all four different isurim, chelev, dam, noiser, pigul, right?
They're all different isurim, so of course you have to give separate.
Chayav kol achas v'achas. Now zu chaymer b'minin harbe min echad. That is what's chamer in many minin more than one min. V'zu chaymer b'min echad b'minin harbe. Right. So I'm sorry. Zu chaymer b'min harbe b'min echad. That's pashut, right? The first thing we talked about is that many minin obviously are more chamer. Now, the zu and the following will be chomer b'min echad mimin harbe. What's more chamer with one min? Shim ochal chatzi zayis. V'chazav ochal chatzi zayis mimin echad chayav. But if you ate half a zayis and half a zayis, chayav. Mishnei min is two minin. Obviously, you're potter. V'avinin bas says the Gemara mimin echad chayav tzricha l'meimar. Obviously we're talking about b'chdei achilas pras. Otherwise, it's not mitzdaref, right? But obviously it's chayav. Right, what's the chiddush? Rish Lakish Mishum Bartutni. Rish Lakish says in the name Bartutni Ach Ma'askin Gunch Achol B'Shnei Tamchuin Rabbi Yeshua. The chiddush is that you ate it in two separate dishes, which means even though it's the same food, chaylev, whatever, but it was cooked in different ways, and therefore, and it's Rabbi Yeshua. The Amar Tamchuin Mechalkim. Right, Rabbi Yeshua has a shita that holds that even though, right, that even though you ate chaylev with one helem, but if you had it in two separate dishes. The fact that they're two separate dishes are mechalik, and now you're chayiv twice, even though it's one helen, right? The arguers of Rabbi Yeshua say, no, you ate chaylev twice. I don't care how you ate the chaylev. The mice, it's one helen. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, tamchuyin are mechalik, right? So too over here. Let's say you had a chatzi zayis that was cooked one way, a chatzi zayis cooked the other way, right? So ma'adatema amri Rabbi Yeshua ben l'kula ben l'chumra. I would think that Rabbi Yeshua would say that just like tamchuyin are mechalkin and say you're chayiv twice if you ate two kazeisim in two different dishes, so too if a chatzi shir, right, it's not mitzdaref, it's two separate tamchuyin, it's two separate things. And Memela, since they're both chatzi shiurim, they're potter. So I would think maybe he says this thing ben l'kula l'chumra kamash malon the l'kula loy. Omar, he did not say it l'kula. L'chumra he only meant to l'chumra, and that's the chiddush of the brayso over here that min echad or chayiv even if it's chatzi zayis after chatzi zayis shtei tamchuyin.
So what's lakula mean? Lakula means that so that you're not chayav.
To say that you're not chayav because you had a chatzi shir in one time,
baked and a chatzi shir cooked, that we don't say. You're still chayav.
You're still going to be chayav. Yeah, Rabbi Shua only said his thing, and to mechayev you twice if you had two real kazesim.
Okay.
But the patri because chatzi shir, no, that he's not going to kula over here.
Right. Okay.
Now why? I don't know. Maybe it's like you learn darshans from a pasuk to go l'chumra. I'm not sure why you would say right. It only goes l'chumra, but that's the chiddush over here is. Now says the Gemara v'hahacha dechalukim l'chatois kamet starfi. Over here you find a case that even though the two separate tamchuin would be mechayev their own chatas, and still it's mitzaref, right? Reb Zera said that because the 9 o'clock and the 5 o'clock aren't mitzaref l'chatos, so therefore they can't be mitzaref for a chiv malacha.
Right.
Why not? Right? You see over here that even though it's chaluk in the chatos, and they would be mechayev two separate chatos, still it is mitzaref in terms of being mechayev you one for each shear. So Amarlei. So he says, Mara Reisha Masin, that you misunderstood how Rish Lakish applied it to the Mishnah. That's not what Rish Lakish was saying at all. Mara Reisha Masin, you put it on the beginning of the it's really the Reisha of the Seifa, right? The Reisha of Ochal Mimin Echad. The Kashila, you have a Kash, Anana Seifa Masisim. We put it on the Mamish end of the Bryce of like Kashilan. Mishnei meaning Potter, right? That if you have two meaning, it's Potter, right? That ochal chatzizais your potter, right? And vav, right? So again, we have the same shayla. Let's richalamim. Obviously, if you have a chatzi shir of pigol and a chatzi shir of noiser, obviously you're going to be potter. Richalamim. Why would it be mitzvah? Vam Rish Lakish, and on that is where we put Rish Lakish. Vam Rish Lakish mishum bartutni laila mimin echad. Really, it's talking about one min. V'amai kari l'shnei min. Why is it called shnei min? Shachol b'shnei tamchuyin. We don't really mean two mamish, two averis. We mean two tamchuyin. Rabbi Yeshua, he damer tamchuyin mechalkin. Rabbi Yeshua, he says that tamchuyin are mechalkin. V'akamash malan. The Rabbi Yeshua ben lekula ben lechumra. And it's saying exactly the opposite. When the Brisa says mishnei minim, if you have a chatzi zayis and a chatzi zayis mishnei minim your potter, it means even though it's the same avera, but it's two separate tamchuyin, you're potter. And it's because it's two separate tamchuyin, therefore you're potter. And
the taka wouldn't be mitzaref. Okay. It's
not mitzaref. Just like it's chaluk l'chatois, and it's b'chayiv you two separate chatois. So too, the guy b'chat shir, it's not mitzaref. Yeshua is 100% consistent. Bein l'kula, bein l'chumra.
Okay.
Right. So we have no kasha because we put it on the seif of the bright, so and it's saying exactly the opposite. Now the Gemara says the seifa min echad v'shnei tamchuyin, from the fact that the seifa is talking about min echad v'shnei tamchuyin, right, and that's when it means shtei minim, right? So then obviously the Reisha, Michlal the Reisha, min echad v'tamchui echad.
Right.
That must be the Reisha min echad v'tamchui echad. So says the Gemara. So we have the same question we had before, right? So min echad v'tamchui echad tzrichel member. Obviously, if it's min echad v'tamchui echad, obviously you don't have to tell me that you're chayev.
Right.
So Amar Rav Huna hachamay skin kon choisely idea bein time. The chiddush over here is a side chiddush. We're going to make an akimta to make a chiddush. But it's talking about you had a idea in between the chatzi shears. Right? So even though yediyah usually is mechalik, if you have in one helam you chayav, if you have if one helam you chayav only one, and if you have a shear and with two shiurim with a helam in between you chayav twice.
Right.
Over here, even though the yediyah usually is mechalik, but because chatzi shear you're not chayav b'chal, therefore the yediyah wasn't really mechayiv you, and therefore a yediyah that's not mechayiv you isn't mechalik, right? And therefore a
yediyah would be mitzaref. Right? The two halves.
Right.
Are yes mitzaref.
They are mitzaref. And yediyah lechatzi shir. It's not considered a yediyah, therefore it's not mechalik, and therefore it is mitzaref because it's one tam choya and everything. Right. Okay, so that's that. Now we're gonna have a discussion now, which is not necessarily gonna fit with a BeiRav, right? And Rashi explains how that works. Now itmar ochal shnei zeisei chelev behelam echad. If you had two zeisim behelam echad. V'noid alayla rishain, v'chazav v'noid alayla sheni, and you had it in two separate yediyos.
Right. Shnei zeisei chelev behelam echad. Okay.
Then right. So everyone agrees that if you have one zayis, and then you have a yediyah.
Yeah.
Then you have another zayis, and then you have a yediyah. You chayav twice.
Of course.
Right. Over here, it's you ate them. When you ate them, you had it with one halama. But it was noida leila rishon v'chazav and noida leila sheni.
Oh, that's a tremendous chiddush. That's extending it to the yediyah. We never had a. I don't know if you would have asked us before learning this, what would be the difference when you found out? We'd say, who cares? The question is whether you
ate it.
Whether you ate it.
Right. Just because you found out separately,
yeah.
Who cares? Right. So, but that's Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush is no chayiv shtayim, because the idea, according to Rabbi Yochanan, a idea isn't just to create a chiluk. It's not just being mechalik. It also becomes like a kapara. It's like kapara. Chiluki idea is like chiluki kapara. It's like, because the idea is now mechayev you chatas. It's like boom. It's like you bought the kapara already, and now you're next. Turn the page. Right. You're in a new ballpark now. So now you found it again. Right. That's Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush. So Rabbi Yochanan Omar. Right. So Rabbi Yochanan mechayev shtayim, because the idea happened separately. Rabbi Yochanan Chayev, he brings a pasuk al chatasai vehevi. Right, you're chayev for each.
So Shlakish said it's a function of when if you did it in one yediyah, you're only one chatas. It makes no difference when you found out. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it does make a difference when you found out. It's a function of finding out. If you found out only about one, that separates it.
Right. And they bring psukim for each one brings a pasuk. So Rabbi Yochanan Mechayev al Chatasi vehevi, like each chatasoi, each chet, Rashi says it means mashmal kol chatas v'chatas yavi. The pasuk is vehevi korbanos yiratzizim to mimone keval chatasoi asher chata. Each chet needs its own carbon. So like sort of this is mechalik it into two chataim. V'reish lakish amar pater mechatasoi v'nislach loy mechatasoi. He learns. No, you don't have to bring all your chataim. It's like, as long as you do one, that encompasses both.
Anything that's in that halama got the kapara.
Right. Okay. Now it says the Gemara Shlakish aksiv al chatasai. The other pasuk is al chatas vehevi. Hahu la'achar kapara. That's after kapara. Even if Shlakish agrees, right? Which it's also it would be a chiddush to me, right? But it sounds like it's pashto Rish Lakish that if you ate two zeisei chelev elamecha, and then you bring a carbon on one of them, and then it's not you one of them, you bring a carbon on that one, and then you find out about the second one.
Yeah.
Even though they were behelamechad, even Rish Lakish agrees. Sorry, Charlie, it wasn't noida yet. You have to be noida in order for the carbon to work. It has to be noida that you had two zeisim, and then. The one chatas can be mechaper on both. But if you brought a kapara after you united only one of them, and then you united the second one, so you have to bring another one. It's still a huge chiddush to me, right? As the pshat is it's when you have behelam echad, it's not pshat that it's one avera. It could be two. It could be mechayer to chatais. The idea is that it's one yediyah, right? So it's only if you found out about it together, then it's mechayer you one chatas. Right. If you found out about it separately, then. Right? What do you mean? I already brought a chatas for this. Yeah, but you ate it. You ate another chatichas chelev. Okay, but it was within the same mistake, right? It was within the same issue. No, no. You found out about it separately, so it's mechalike. So it's like when you find out about it, you have to do tshuva again, and you have to now bring another chatas for that because it's very very mechudesh, right? Okay, so that everybody agrees. So Rish Lakish interprets Rabbi Yochanan's pasuk, no problem. When does it say you have to bring a chatos for each zayis, right? That's after kapar. You have to bring another one. Why doesn't it say his pasuk?
With a mem, right?
Right. So oh, so Rabbi Yochanan says no problem. I'll find you a situation where that's talking about. You ate a kazayis and a half. Then you found out about the kazayis. Then you ate another chatzi zayis b'halam shel sheni before you found out about the second about the chatzi zayis. So ma'adetemu litztarfu. I would think it should be mitztaref, and you should be chayiv again. Right? And it's because the chatzi zayis and the chatzi zayis were done with the same helem. So maybe I should be chayiv another one.
Because the first half a zayas he didn't know about, so there's no kapara. So it should be mistarv with a second half a zayas.
Right, and now you should have to bring a separate carbon for it.
Right.
So Kamash Malon Rabbi Yochanan, no. That's where the pasuk teaches you mechatosai. And you do not have to bring another one. Why? What's the difference? Because
little gray right here. It's schlepped along with the first zayas.
Right. Because it doesn't have a shear, doesn't have its own shear, so it gets schlepped along. If it has its own shear, Rabbi Yochanan says no, it's its own thing. You could be chayav a separate one for it later. But because this is not substantial enough to be chayav on its own, so it is nigrar after the first kazayas. Okay. And that's how he would use Rabbi Yochanan's pasuk, Rish Lakish's pasuk. Okay, now Amar le Ravina Ravashi. So now that we have this machlokes over here, the Ravina and Ravashi are going to stretch the limits and try to find out exactly where this machlokes goes. Oh, the Ravina Ravashi. Is this is a chakira? He's not sure. Is the possibility the machlokes is only when they knew about it? Right? When the idiyas happened before the frasha, and this is machlokes. The Mars over idiyas mechalkes. Rabbi Yochanan holds the idiyas mamish mechalked, and now it's a separate page, right? You have to. It's a new account. Mars over no hafrashas mechalkes. Meaning Rish Lakish would agree. Right, aval achar afrasha. Ma'idilei Rish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan the Chayiv Shtein. Rish Lakish would agree that if you would take a mafresh it, that's enough. It's enough to make a new account, new case. Meaning the fact that you were mafresh it, you know about the first zayis, and then you were mafresh a carbon, and then you had another, you know about the second one. It's too late. Even Rish Lakish would be masking after afrasha.
Once it's hafrasha, case closed, then even according to Rish Lakish.
Right. Is that the pshat? And they're only arguing about kaidem afrasha. Oidilma. The Isyadile, Achar Afrasha.
Pligi, that is their machlokes.
Even arguing after Afrasha. Uvha Pligi. The Marsavar Afrasha is Mechalkos. One holds Afrasha is Mechalik. Marsavar Kapara is Mechalkos. Then no, you have to actually have a Kapara Mamish in order for it not to work. Aval Kaidem Afrasha, Moidile Rebbechen Rish Lakish. But Rebbechen is Moidit Rish Lakish that if it's just the idea and no Afrasha, then there's no problem.
Right.
Right, Oidilma, or maybe bein bezu machlokes. The third possibility is no, they're arguing everything. So, right, they're arguing kaidem afrasha and achar afrasha. So Amrlei, he says mistabra bein bezu machlokes. Mistabra that machlokes is by both of them. Why? If you want to say that they're only arguing kaidem afrasha, aval achar afrasha might delish. And he agrees after afrasha that the chayiv shnayim, that it's mechalik. So then ad mukim leikro achar kapora. Now, this is not a riot from Rish Lakish because the discussion we had in terms of what Rish Lakish and Yochanan do the other people's psukim aren't really Rish Lakish and Yochanan the men themselves talking. It's the Bnei Yeshiva who are discussing Rish Lakish and Yochanan's machlokes. Right? It's not a general. It's a general thing that to know about Gemara. When the Gemara interjects in terms of the shitas and explains, it's not always that. It's not the actual Rish Lakish. It's not Omer Rish Lakish. It's our explanations of where Rish Lakish and Yochanan would counter Taina, right?
Right.
So that's how Rashi explains over here that Reb Zera, who's talking, Ravina and Ravashi are discussing. He says from the fact that the Bnei HaYeshiva, when it's the previous sugya, the way we have it, right, it was brought down to us, right, was in this way, we could bring a raya as to what they thought. Now what Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan thought, but at least we can bring a raya what they themselves, from the stomach of the Gemara, be able to infer how they understood it. So he says, right, so he says Mistaber beim zuzach like this I died to kind of speak about the Chaivstein. So Adamukim lekol achar kapara. Why did Rish Lakish have to say, oh, that Rabbi Yochanan's pasuk? That's after kapara. Look me lachar frasha. You don't have to go so far. Just say after afrasha. If he's minded that after afrasha is mechalik, so the pasuk of achatase vehevi could go after afrasha. The achar afrasha pligi, and if they argue after afrasha, only after afrasha, al kadna afrasha moide Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, then he's moide. Then chayiv el achas. So adimuk lekrob kazai sumechza. Why did he have to say the whole case of kazai sumechza? Look me kodim afrasha. Just say he's talking about before afrasha. And even though there's the in between, I'm masking that you're only chayiv one. Right. So again, it sounds like the Bnei Yeshiva held that it was machlokes all the way through. Says the Gemara, no, v'dil masuf sfugim misafkale. Maybe they're masupik. Maybe just because Bnei Yeshiva answered this way isn't a raya that they have a definite understanding of the machlokes. And they mean, if you mean to say intim saloimer kaidem afrasha pligi ba Rabbi Yochanan hechimukim. If they even arguing koydem afrasha, right? So then how is Rabbi Yochanan applying his pasuk, the kra, right? So then hechimukim lekra because I do mechza. V'intim tzalem l'achar afrasha again. If you want to say they're arguing after afrasha, so then Rish Lakish would have to explain. Rish Lakish hechimut lekra, but l'achar kapara would have to explain after kapara. Meaning the Bnei Yeshiva, they're not taking sides over here. They know that you could have a suffix as to whether or not they're arguing koydem afrasha after afrasha, and they're just taking care of all the all the loose ends and making sure either way we have a pshat for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll be mamshech a little bit with this, right? Just
Wow.
it's important to remember this shita of Rabbi Yochanan that the idea itself is mechalik, and that's what we're going to use tomorrow. The idea itself is not just a chiluk in terms of being mechayiv you another carbon, but it's like a kapara. Chilukei yediyah is chilukei kapara.
The chilukei yediyah is chilukei kapara.
Mamish makes it a separate account.
That yediyah. Well, we knew that. Isn't that what we always assumed, that yediyah is a thing, right?
Yediyah usually we knew was lechalik. It's mechalik
Right.
and into two separate things.
Right.
Right, but if there was no yediyah in between, just because you found out about it, the yediyah isn't like a kapara. It's not like
Right.
a end seif pasuk.
Right.
It's not like
Not like havrasha, let alone kapara. Right.
Right. Doesn't close the case and now open new case. No, it's just mechalik. So Rabbi Yochanan says no, mamish goes all the way, and we'll see how that applies. Tomorrow is going to apply to shifcha charufa. Now, just one thing that Rashi points out is that Abai and Rava, what did they say? They said that if you eat one kazayis and then another kazayis, right, and then you found out about one of them, and then you ate another one.
Well,
Right.
Abai BeiRav, we're talking about the techina and the ksira.
Right. Well, they were talking about the Ksira, no, but then we brought their machlekes by Greira by the Shnei Kazei Chelev. You ate
Okay.
one. You
Right.
ate two, and then you remembered about one, and then you ate the third one. Right. So Abai and Rava had a machlekes. Rava said that the Venn diagram case, right?
Right.
If you ate the middle, if you bring a carbon in the middle one, it's Kolel both of them.
Right.
Right. But if you bring on the first one, right, then it's not. So
Right.
But either way, both of them, Abai and Rava agree that you chayiv, that if you bring on the even though it's two separate yediyos, right? And the Gemara
Right.
said that Rava ended up being masking to Abai, right?
That's right.
But either way, they agree, right? That the fact that you noida loy in separate times, you're chayiv only one.
That's
And
right.
If you bring a carbon on the first piece of chaylev, it's koilel the second one, even though yediyah happened separately.
Right.
So you see Abai and Rava argue on Rabbi Yochanan. They don't hold to Rabbi Yochanan.
Oh, interesting. That's right.
Right. Unless Rashi says that again, Rabbi Yochanan, unless you say that Rabbi Yochanan is arguing only achar afrasha, his sheet is only achar afrasha, and Rabbi and Rava are talking about koydem afrasha. So koydem afrasha on that side, everyone agrees koydem afrasha. The idea itself isn't enough to be mechalik, to be mechayiv you too. Right. So that's the tutz dadim here.
All right. So do we know halacha how the poskim hold, or?
No, I did not look at it. I'm not sure.
It's probably unresolved because the Gemara doesn't resolve it.
Right.
All right. Very
Right,
good.
and the only one who would paskin about these things is the Rambam because it's not Nagel Maisa today.
Right. That's a good point.
It looks like he paskins like Rava. I don't know if he. It looks like he paskins like Rava in both cases.
All right. Very good. Yeshikayach. Beautiful.
Okay, shkoyach. It was very geschmack.
Yeah. Very nice. Lovely. Very good logic exercise.
Yes. Tomorrow we have more.
All right. I'll stay tuned. Have a good night. Yeshikayach. Shavua tov.
Okay, shkoyach.
Kol tov. Thank you very much. Kol tov.
Hatzlacha.
Thank you too.
A good Woche.